Evil Tree, let's go. This is another head-to-head challenge build with my friend Chris. The last one we did together was samurai themed, and if you haven't seen the video for that one yet, go check it out. This time, Chris's niece came up with a theme prompt of overgrown, forest, and mushroom. We're both starting out with the same Hot Wheels casting, so let's see where this project goes. I like to drill the rivets with a small drill bit first. And you can see it drills out the center of the rivet. And then I can take a larger bit to get rid of the top of the rivet. And you just want to drill down far enough for this round piece to pop off. Once that's gone, you're good to go. Disassembling this car, I'm looking for the bits that I want to keep. My idea for meeting the theme actually comes from the Dungeons & Dragons monster called the Shambling Mound. It's basically a slightly humanoid tree come to life that blends in with its natural surroundings and attacks its unsuspecting victims. More on that later. I decided to keep the original paint job on this Hot Wheels casting, but I wanted to remove the Hot Wheels logos, so I'm doing that with a bit of acetone nail polish remover. And I also wanted to chop the front end of this car off. You'll see why in a little bit. I want this thing to have some vines and moss and all kinds of stuff growing on it. And my first idea was to use wire. But then I realized I should probably just use some wood. So I went out and found some sticks in this really nice root. I have no idea what kind of tree this is from, but it looks nice and gnarly, and I was able to chop off some pieces to get it to almost look like arms coming out of the front here. And of course I'm gonna embed this car kind of almost like it was growing through the interior there. So I had to nick it up with a file. I cut some different sticks for legs. Going on to bulk out some more of the base here, I used some XPS insulation foam. And I carved out a little hole in the inside here. Mocked up where the legs were going to go. Drilled a hole. Used a toothpick as a pin. And I made sure that they were able to stick in and stand this thing up. And with the other side placed correctly, I could use some white PVA glue to permanently attach these to the foam. Looking pretty good. There were a few different steps of pruning this tree. This foam's looking a little blocky, so I'll go ahead and add some texture. I'm planning on covering most of this anyway, but anything that shows through would not look good as a big square. I also noticed the front end of the car did not sit in a way that I liked, nor did the engine fit in a decent way. And it was on to getting some more texture here. So I used a little length of aluminum wire to wrap around as a vine coming over one of the legs. But then I quickly realized that I could get satisfactory texture just by using hot glue. And I've done this on a tree trunk in the past, but basically you can put blobs of hot glue down and then use the hot end of the glue gun to kind of spread it and streak it around to make some nice lines. So that's what I did around the legs and around that wire vine. And I went over the whole base to get rid of that foam texture. And to seal it all in, I coated it with some Mod Podge mixed with black paint. And I went ahead and did the tree as well. A tree is a tree, but when you're painting everything else, you're going to want to paint the tree again. And once everything was black, it was starting to look a lot more uniform. But I still wanted to add a couple more details, and as you can see, I've been 3D printing quite a bit. Grab a fuel can here and some tires. And some skulls. So I mentioned unsuspecting victims before, and this is probably one of the more morbid things that I've had on the channel. But I filled that little cavity under the body of the car there with a bunch of 3D printed skulls. Painted up a tire. Stippled on some matte varnish over the original paint. And I needed to paint up these skulls so that I could attach the car and continue building. Now, to texture the smooth hot glue, I used this texture paint called Typhus Corrosion. I always have a link to this down in the description. That's an affiliate link. Use some Tamiya Clear Red to give a nice bloody pool around these skulls. And I hit everything with a brown wash to knock it down a little bit. Mixed up a nice dark brown for the base of the tree. And then I dry brushed some gray and mixed with a little bit of yellow ochre all over the wooden parts. And then I could attach the car to the tree. Weather up this tire. I snipped a big chunk off so that I could make it look like it was being enveloped by vines and growth. And I started to do a little bit of washing and weathering here. There's the fuel can and the tireless rim all painted up. It took a bit of trial and error, but I was able to jam these in somewhere into the tree to look like they were eaten at various points. This front end of the car was still not looking right to me, so I went ahead and broke it in half. And I glued it onto the front here, cocked at an angle. I hit the headlight with a glossy silver, and then I went over it with like this eerie blue transitioning to white. And next I grabbed some of my sawdust flock. I'll have a video on how I made this flock coming up to the channel pretty soon, but for now you'll get to see it in action. My glue of choice for this project was actually this matte varnish. So I would stipple a little bit of varnish onto a place I wanted some moss, and then I tried to get the smallest pieces possible from the flock to stick on. At this scale, even the sawdust can be too big sometimes. And I found that shaking it like this allowed some of that dust to come out, and I could kind of scrape it around with my finger and pinch it. This took a little bit of time to get done, but I really like the effect. And there he is, all flocked up. That one headlight eyeball was looking a bit lonely, so I took a similar paint color and I dry brushed around it, giving a little glow. And I also picked a couple of these knots out up here to be some more eyes or something that this eerie light is coming from. And of course I needed to make some mushrooms, so using these little plastic cabochon stickers, I glued the end of some toothpicks on, which double as a nice painting handle. Painted those shiny white caps red. Added some white polka dots. Don't forget to paint the stems, and those were looking good. I only made 3 of these mushrooms, and I put them in a place that I thought would give a nice little pop of color when you looked at it. I didn't want to overdo it. But in hindsight, I could have added a little bit more. And originally, I wanted to add some of that horizontal orange fungus you see sometimes on trees, but I just couldn't make it happen. This build was another really fun project. I loved getting a chance to use some of that homemade flocking that I made. I can't wait to show you guys in another video how I made that. It's super easy. You're gonna love it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out some of my other videos. And I'll see you on the next build.